Hey, what's going on, Tigers fans? I am back for episode 2 of what I am calling Rally Cats Radio. It took a lot of playing around with stupid different names to even come up with this one, and I'm not sure how I feel about it yet, so any feedback would be great. The timing of recording this is a little weird because of something going on my Twitter right now. But I just wanted to get an episode out because the Tigers have done some stuff since I recorded last week. So they signed Kenley Jansen, is the big news. They signed him to a 1 year deal with a club option for year two. The 1 year deal is for $9 million with a guarantee of $2 million if they don't accept the club option. So it would be $11 million if they don't take him for another year. And then I can't remember if it's another $11 million for year two or not. But anyways, I can't really tell how I feel about the signing, if I'm being honest. I am a fan of them bringing in a name. I'm a fan of them bringing in a veteran, established guy who's been there, done it before. You know, Kenley Jansen is going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to reach 500 saves, probably with the Tigers, especially if he stays for 2 years. So that's a really, really cool thing. And Scott Harris seems very, very happy to have him on the team. I mean, he, in an interview with, some of the beat reporters, he was talking about how Kenley was a guy he went after at the deadline last year and is a guy that they've targeted for a couple years now. And I think that's really interesting. So they must see something. And obviously, Kenley's had some good stats the last couple of years. There were some underlying metrics last year that are really concerning, and that's where my concern comes from. But Scott Harris seems very confident that whatever he sees in Kenley Jansen is going to keep him elite and allow him to be very, very productive in the late innings for Detroit. So I'm excited. He's got a great cutter. I'm wondering, I guess his slider usage was a little bit down. I'm wondering if maybe they're intending to increase his slider usage, similar to how they did with Kyle Finnegan's splitter. I think there's some interesting tweaks that could be made there. I'm curious if Kenley's open to many tweaks, given the fact that he's going to be 38 years old, I want to say, and been in this league so long that it's kind of hard to tell a guy who's had that much success that he should make some tweaks. But if he signed with the Tigers, something tells me he's probably pretty receptive to it, because the Tigers are a team that are going to have you adjust things. They're going to want you to get better, and they're going to give you ways you can do that. That's how they operate, and I don't think it matters who you are. They see something that they think can make you better, they're going to bring it up to you, and so I'm sure they discussed that with Kenley. He must be on board, and I'm excited to see what they cook up. So that's exciting. Their back end of the bullpen now is, Will Vest, Kyle Finnegan, and Kenley Jansen. I'm pretty excited to have three guys that I'm comfortable with at the back end of the game, because there were times where, especially before Finnegan, where it was really just Vest at the end of the game, and anybody else you had to throw in there was kind of iffy. You didn't really know. And at one point, prior to that, I can't remember what time Foley went down, but Foley would have been the guy next to Vest like he was in 2024, but it was just Vest. And so if he didn't have much rest and you needed a guy for the ninth, it was a little scary, because you either sent him out there on short rest or you went with somebody you weren't sure about, like a Tommy Canley. Now, Canley was pretty decent to start the year, but he crashed and burned really hard. And so, that being said, I'm hoping that doesn't happen with Kenley Jansen. So they have a good back end of the back end of the bullpen. The rotation's still a little bit of a question mark. In theory, it's pretty solid. You've got Skubal still, hasn't been traded. Doesn't look like he's going to get traded. It's really hard to tell. I mean, the more time that passes after all that smoke got built up, the more it feels like he's not going to move. But you really never know. But if he doesn't move, you've still got the best pitcher in baseball leading the way. He just announced he's going to pitch for Team USA, so him and Paul Skeens are going to be pitching for the same team in the World Baseball Classic. Good luck to the rest of the world. That's going to be fun to watch. But after Skubal, you've got Jack and Casey. Both guys pretty reliable for the most part. Jack's a little inconsistent, same with Casey, but at their best, they are, two, three guys in the rotation, and they're good at that spot. Jack is, when he's on, he's got electric stuff. He strikes out a lot of batters. He's hard to hit, but when he's off, he's pretty off. So it's interesting to see what we're going to get from him this year. He had a lot of blow-up innings that ruined what would have been good starts for him in 2025. I'm just really curious to see what we're going to get from him in 2026. Casey Mize, on the other hand, was pretty solid in 2026 or 2025. He was an all-star. He looked really good for the most part. He had some stretches where he struggled and got hit pretty hard, but his splitter looked a lot better. I think he's got like the two variations of the slider now. He's got like the hard slider and the longer slider, and it seems to be working for him okay. Maybe he can tighten that up a little bit. It is interesting to see if he can be even better in 26, because there's an argument to be made that he was still kind of getting his legs back a little bit in 2025. Maybe he wasn't quite fully back to his form, but now that he's had a full season of being healthy, maybe 2026, after a full off season, he's going to come in at his absolute best. And if that's the case, that would be pretty exciting to see. Then after those three guys, you've got Reese Olson, who should hopefully be healthy. The question with Reese is, can he stay healthy? Because so far in his career, that's been a big struggle. Speaking of Reese, he just got married, so congratulations to Mr. Olson and Mrs. Olson, and also Mr. Rogers and Mrs. Rogers, because Jake just got married as well. So congratulations to those guys and their wives. But yeah, Reese is a solid pitcher. To have as the number 4 starter or the 3 starter, depending on how you want to mix him and Mize, you're feeling pretty solid about that. Olson's got some pretty nasty spin. When he's on, he looks like a true number 2 starter. When he's off, at worst, he looks like a number 4 starter. Like he's never really been that bad. He's never been like an ace type like guy when you watch him pitch, but he's never been a guy that you're all that worried about either. He's kind of just reliable in a way, but he's got some nasty stuff, and having him as your 4th option in the rotation, you feel pretty good about that. And then Troy Melton as your number 5, you feel really good about that, right? Because he was really, really good down the stretch of his rookie season. And, I don't know what his ceiling is. I see some people claiming he's got ace potential. I'm not sure I'm ready to jump on that bandwagon yet. He definitely has some really good stuff. He throws hard. He's got a really good demeanor out there on the mound. I need to see more from him. He kind of moved quickly from Double-A to the majors. He got there really quick, and sometimes, guys have a hard time adjusting. Like, he's got a kind of a funky release, a funky delivery, and guys have a little bit of a hard time adjusting to that right away. But once he's been in the league a little while, and more scouting reports are out about him, and guys start to figure him out, we have to see that first, I think. And I am looking forward to seeing what he brings in 2026. I think as a 5 starter, it would be hard to complain about having that kind of talent back there, a guy who at his best could be a front rotation arm. So somewhere late in the season, you're going to get Jackson Jobe back. That's really exciting. Really miss watching him pitch. He's disgusting. He struggled a little bit to start 2025. He had ups and downs. That's going to happen. He's really young. A lot of times pitchers don't, minus like Paul Skeens and Jobe, a lot of times pitchers don't even make the majors until they're mid-20s or later. They don't move at the same pace as position players a lot of the time. And so you've got Jobe, who debuted at, I want to say 21, 22 maybe. And, he showed flashes. He showed flashes, but his fastball was pretty hittable, even though he throws it hard. So there's got to be some tweaks, but he's got that good slider cutter thing going on. He's got a wicked, I don't know if he's calling it a sweeper or whatever it is, the kind of the big curving pitch. And then, he obviously throws the ball really hard. So the sinker, I posted a clip from earlier in 2025 with that sinker. My God, that thing moves. That thing dives inward, and it's beautiful. So maybe he needs to incorporate that more and use the fastball less. Who knows? They're going to do some stuff with him when he gets back. I don't know what role he's going to play when he gets back. But you've got some other options. Drew Anderson, they signed him to a $7 million 1 year deal with a club option for year two. He might play a big role. He might play almost no role. I don't know, but he can throw kind of hard. He throws 96, 97. He's apparently developed a really good kick change. That new pitch that Clay Holmes, picked up with the Mets, and I don't know if it's new necessarily, but it's kind of like a new fad kind of thing. That seems to be working well for some guys. He developed that over in the Korean League, and it seems to be working really well for him. He got a lot of strikeouts over there. It's hard to gauge how much that'll translate, but he could be a buy low, get good production kind of guy, or he could be a long reliever. You could throw him in the bullpen, like not even as a long reliever, just as a leverage guy, and maybe see his velocity tick up to like 98, 99, get him throwing as hard as he can. Maybe that makes him more productive. Maybe he's really good out of the pen. I don't know. I guess we'll see. They definitely have some ideas for him. I'm sure they were pretty quick to get him back from Korea when the offseason kicked off. And he was with the Tigers in spring training previously. I don't remember which year that was, if it was 25, 24, 23, whatever it was. He was with the Tigers for a stint in spring training and in their minor leagues at some point. But yeah, so Drew Anderson, you've got a decent rotation, and now you've got a good back into the bullpen. You're feeling okay about the pitching, I think. There's questions of the depth with injuries, because injuries can happen. They happen a lot for this team. Kiter Montero, I think maybe it's Cater. I've always said Kiter, but I think when I looked on Baseball Reference, it's Cater. Cater Montero, he is a really good, guy to be able to slot in for injuries. Like when you have an injury and you need a guy to step up and fill some innings, he's a great guy for that. So I like having him as that option. I don't know what role he's going to serve. Is he going to be in AAA a lot starting? Is he going to be in the bigs as a bullpen guy? He's definitely good enough to be in the bigs. So I don't know. There's some interesting stuff going on with him. I don't know what they are thinking with like Sawyer Gipson-Long. Sawyer Gipson-Long missed a lot of time. He didn't look incredible in what we did see of him, but he's shown flashes when he was healthy. So there's something there. Ty Madden's going to be coming back at some point here. I would assume he'll be healthy early in the season, if not at the start of the season. So that'll be interesting because he's got some really good stuff. He throws really hard. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they maneuver all these guys. Jake Miller's on the 40-man. He's a lefty. I don't think he's played above AA yet, but he's pretty good. He's got some decent stuff that I think that they really like. And it'd be nice to have another lefty, starting lefty. They don't really have many of those at this time. They have Skubal, and there's a lot of righties. So it'd be nice to be able to add him into the mix a little bit for starting. But we'll see where it goes. Either way, we're losing some starters after the season, whether it's Skubal and Flaherty and Mize, or two of the three, or one of the three. We're going to lose at least some of them. And you got to have guys ready to step in. I'm hoping, via trade or free agency, whether this offseason or next offseason, they start to prepare for that a little bit. But right now, you just got to hope that the guys you do have are prepared to step up when the current guys step away. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that unfolds this year. The offense is kind of where I'm a little more scared. They haven't really done anything. Scott Harris had some quotes this offseason, or not this offseason, in that same interview I was discussing earlier, talking about how the team might look the same with the names that you see, but they are I can't get the exact quote right. I wish I had it pulled up. They are different on an individual and something else level. And I get what he was trying to say. He's saying that the team that we saw struggle down the stretch last year is not the team that's going to present to us. Even though it's the same guys, it's not the same team that's going to come out in 2026. There's going to be improvements, is what he's saying. I don't know. That's a big thing to project, to as a president of baseball operations, to just kind of assume that all these guys are going to take a step forward, or you're not going to have regression, because I like Spencer Torkelson. I love Spencer Torkelson. I think anybody who knows me knows that I'm a big Torque guy. but he's been up and down, and you want to believe that he's officially here now. You want to believe that season was real. This was the one that steps him into what he is for the rest of his career, or even better. But there's still the risk that he does take another step back, and there's that. Riley Green, you wonder with him, is he just the guy that we saw in 2025? Is he a high power, high strikeout, low walk guy? Because I think if Riley Green becomes a three true outcomes kind of guy, if he starts walking, still strikes out a lot, hits a lot of homers, I mean, you can live with that as long as he's getting on base, right? So, I mean, that's what Kyle Schwarber's so great at, is he strikes out a ton. I think he struck out about the same amount of times as Riley did, but he also walks a ton. So his on base is really high, and that's so much more valuable. So if Riley can at least start walking more, I can live with the strikeouts. That's the reality of it. I don't like that many strikeouts, but if you're going to strike out that much, you need to walk more. You need to walk more, or it's really going to hurt the team, because if your only two outcomes are an extra base hit or a strikeout, it limits things. So I want to see improvement on his end. I don't know what we can expect from him. His health has always worried me. He just looks uncomfortable all the time when he's moving out there. I don't know why. There's nothing that I'm aware of with his body that's public or anything that causes him to function that way. It just might be how he is as an athlete. But it certainly seems, and the metrics suggest, that he is slowing down, and he's not moving as well. And it is concerning because his defense declined in left field from a Gold Glove type defender to potentially a negative defender in left field, which is kind of shocking for somebody that young to kind of regress that much. I don't know what's going on there. I wish we kind of understood, and maybe it's one of those things that we'll look back and be like, oh, that was weird, because maybe he'll go back to being this elite defender and better athlete that we remember him being when he came up. I don't know. It's a question mark. It's going to be a big issue if with his injury history, if he gets injured and misses a lot of time, that's a big bad out of your lineup, and you worry about that. Gleyber Torres, I'm not that worried about. I think if there's one steady bat in your lineup, I know he had a down second half. I think the hernia did play a big factor into that, and he's a really good hitter. He puts up good at bats every single time he steps up to the plate, and he's probably the last guy I'm worried about. He's going to go out there and he's going to do what he does. So those guys, like, yeah. And then Dylan Dingler, I worry about him offensively a little bit, because I feel like perhaps there's going to be some regression there. I don't know. With catchers, they're playing every single day almost, and it's good that he has Jake there to give him a day off, and Jake does a good enough job. But, I mean, he's going to be back behind the plate a lot, and sometimes that can take a toll on a catcher's offensive game. And if you're getting less offensive production from a guy like Dingler, how does that affect the rest of the lineup? There's a lot of moving parts. Kerry Carpenter, is he going to start getting more at-bats against lefties? Is he strictly a platoon guy still? He doesn't walk ever. Like, if you look at his Savant page, he's like in the bottom 2% or something like that in walk rate. That's worrisome. So I really don't know what to expect from this lineup, because there's so many question marks. Parker Meadows is a big one. You don't know who he's going to be. Is he the second half of 2024 Parker? Is he the second half of, or when he got healthy in 2025 Parker? Who knows? Who knows which is the real one? Maybe it's somewhere in the middle, and maybe that's okay until Max Clark arrives. But you get Veerling back. I think Veerling is a solid guy that can fill in a lot of places. You feel good about having him on your bench, starting him when you need to. McKinstry, you feel good about starting when you need to, but I don't want him to be an everyday guy. He's getting older. His exit velocities were scarily low. His hard hit rate is low. He had some serious regression from the first half to the second half. I just don't trust him as an everyday player, but it's hard to doubt him. My mouth is getting so dry, but it's hard to doubt him. So I think McKinstry, having him on the team is good. That's all that matters to me. I don't know who's going to play shortstop. Kevin McGonigal isn't far off. I think he will stick at shortstop. I hope he stays there. Hold on. about that. I needed to go get something to drink because my throat was getting so dry that I couldn't continue talking. Yeah, I was kind of just discussing how Kevin McGonigal isn't probably going to start the season up. I think he is a guy that's probably going to be in AAA for at least a couple months. I don't think he necessarily needs it, but it's hard for me to question the organization in their philosophy with development, because for the most part, it's the best we've seen from this organization in a long time with internal development, and it's, at least in that sense, it's a breath of fresh air, and I appreciate it. I appreciate that they're doing their due diligence and really trying to get these guys to reach their potential. It's frustrating as a fan when you know that the team is able to be better than they are, but regardless, I am glad to see that it's improved to the state it's at, and I think we're not far off now from being a team that really is going to be competitive year in and year out. I don't know what to expect in 2026, though. I don't. This team has a lot of question marks for that, and we're not quite to the stages where this team's feeling well-rounded. I think Colt Keith is honestly maybe the biggest what are we getting in 2026 guy, because if he takes the next step, I mean, he took a big step from year 1 to year 2. If you look at his Savant page, his overall numbers, like he got a lot better. He started both years off really poorly, but he got a lot better from year 1 to year 2. If he takes the logical next step in year 3, I mean, we're talking about a guy that has all-star potential. I know for some of you listening, that might sound crazy, but truly, like, Colt Keith is a really well-rounded hitter. He's just got to, he's got to start pulling the ball in the air more. That power's got to come out a little bit more. He's got it all in there. He drives the ball the other way as well as anybody on the team. He's great at doing what Miggy used to do and just poking the ball the other way over the infielder's head when he couldn't do anything else in like a count that he was being, down and out on. I'm not saying he's Miggy. He's nowhere close to that. He probably never will even touch that realm. But the point is, in terms of guys on the team that can do that can take a tough pitch in a bad count and loft it the other way, he's the best one on the team for that right now. But they have other intriguing pieces. I mean, Eduardo Valencia is on the 40-man. He put up a 1,000 OPS in AAA with a ton of homers as a catcher, a bad catcher, but a catcher nonetheless, and can play some first base. He might get some time this year. Hao-Yu Lee, probably about as ready as he's going to be to take the step to the big leagues. He plays a solid enough defense, I think. I've heard mixed reports on that. I haven't watched him enough personally to know for sure if he's that good or that bad, but he seems like a pretty decent base runner. His underlying numbers suggest that he's a pretty good hitter all throughout, even through AAA, even though his OPS wasn't like mind-numbingly great or anything. I'm sure he starts the year in AAA, but I think there's a reality where he does see a lot of time. Trey Cruz is a guy I think could start the year up in the major league team. Wenzel Perez, I don't know what to expect from him. I'm not a big Wenzel guy, but he does play solid defense in the outfield. He is fast. He's good on the bases sometimes. Sometimes it feels like he makes a lot of mistakes on the bases. I don't know what role Javi's going to play. I think Javi, similar to Vierling and similar to McKinstry, is just a great utility guy to keep on the bench. Maybe start him against lefties at shortstop, but for the most part, I think he's a great utility guy. You throw him, center field, second base, shortstop, third base, wherever you need him. If somebody needs a day off or wherever, I think Javi will be willing to do it, and I think he'll do it well. So that's fine. I just don't think he's a good enough hitter that you can reliably throw him in every day on top of a guy like Parker Meadows and these other question marks. I think if you're going to have a Javi, you need 8 other guys that you can trust in the lineup. And that's just the truth of it, unless you're facing left-handed pitching, in which case I trust Javi a little more. But yeah, that's the reality of the situation. Is I just don't. This team has so many ways that it could go right and so many ways that it could go wrong that it's really hard to predict what we're going to see in 2026. It's fascinating to me how confident Scott Harris is in the team that he's got going right now. And I'm not even sure if he is that confident in the team he's got going right now, or maybe he's just that confident in the next wave of guys and he's willing to suffer through a potential down year in 2026. Maybe like Skubal leaving for nothing doesn't bother him in the way that it bothers the rest of us. And I'm not saying that he doesn't care, but he's obviously a very logic-based person and has his sees things a specific way. And maybe he has come to the conclusion in his mind that a long-term contract like Skubal is going to command does not make sense for the team to compete in a long window. And whether or not you agree with that, whether or not I agree with that, that seems like that would be his philosophy. And you know what, that could be the case. I'm just curious to see what he does after 2026 too, because with all the loss of all the pitching and who they're going to bring in, what the rotation is going to look like in 2027. You know, obviously there's going to be the work stoppage more than likely with the CBA agreements. That's going to cause some issues with that. It's going to be weird, but 2026 itself is going to be I don't know if any of us really truly know what to expect. I hope that they can at least stay around an 85 to 90 win team. But dreaming, they come out swinging, they look great, they get over the hump, they win 90 plus games, and they compete for a World Series with Tarek Skubal as your ace. Whether that stays reality, I don't know, but that's the hope. So that was episode 2 of Rally Cats Radio. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you listened, this is a lot of fun. I enjoy talking about the Tigers. I can't wait for some more exciting stuff to happen and for season to start up. And, you know, I want to do more. It's hard because, you know, I'm talking to myself here. I don't have a co-host, and I don't really have that strict of a plan I follow when I hop on. I just get on here and I want to talk. I just have an itch to talk baseball. So if you have any ideas for things I should talk about in episode 3, you know, feel free, leave a comment, send me a message on Twitter, whatever you want to do. I love talking baseball. So I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.